Hello and welcome back to the another episode of Daily News Quiz Analysis for IAS Prelims 2025. It is 13th December today, and in this video we are going to discuss various types of questions which are very much relevant for your preparation. Before we'll start discussing these questions, I would like to give you the brief introduction about the video so that if you are the first time visitor of this channel, you will get more connected with it. In this video, we would discuss different types of questions, and if we will break them into some categories, it would come under three sets. So, in the first set of questions which we are going to discuss here, we take questions from the current affairs. What we do? We take up the most important articles from the newspapers. We try to break those important articles into the simplest language possible and derive the prelims based questions from those articles so that it will give you the idea how you should go through your newspapers and what part of the newspaper is very much important for you in relation to is very much relevant to your prelims preparation. So this is what we do in the first set of questions. In this first part of our discussion, we will discuss questions with respect to the current affairs, and I hope this would be very much helpful for your preparation. In the another set of questions which we are going to discuss here, we take questions from the static part. What we do, we take up the most important, every day we try to discuss some important topic from the static portion. And if you know that, if you had followed me, you would definitely know that we had started with Indian polity. So we started with Indian polity, and today we are going to discuss, as right now we are discussing the DPSPs, and today we are going to discuss an important article from DPSPs and after discussing that we will derive a prelims based question on that so that it will give you the idea. Even though the articles are very discrete, even though they are the smallest topics, but UPSC can even ask questions from those smallest topics. It will give you the idea how you should prepare for your examination, and also by solving these questions it will definitely boost your confidence. After we will discuss the second part of this video, after discussing the first part and the second part, we will shift our approach towards the last part of our discussion, where we are going to discuss some previous year questions. We will discuss some previous year questions. We will try to find out the ways and means by which we can solve those questions. We will try to find out how we can implement that knowledge in the previous year questions in the upcoming exam. As we know that the UPSC has this trend, they will often ask questions, they will often repeat the questions, if not the questions, but they will repeat the statements, or even in their options, in the options of the question, they will repeat the statement. So it becomes very much important for us to go through the previous year questions, and it is said that the previous year questions are like Bible to us. We have to go through this. So this is in a nutshell about our video, what we are going to discuss in this. Now, without any delay, before we will start now solving these questions, I would like to, I would like to request you guys few things which I believe if I was at your place, I would definitely do that. First of all, please do note down these questions. They are going to be very much important for you. You don't know uh, how much big role they will play if you have these questions with you. Develop your own question bank. If when your exams would be near, I am talking about the month of May, and at that time you would want to revise everything what you had studied, but practically it is very much impossible because you would have to go through huge sources which is not practically possible. But if you have these questions with you, what you will do, you will just go through these questions will definitely connect you with the current affairs, they will connect you with the static part, and they will also give you the analysis of the previous year questions. So these questions will definitely boost your confidence before entering the exam, and they will give you the idea what you had what you had discussed, what you had studied whole year, and what is important in the exam. So if I was at your place, I would definitely note down these questions, keep them with me, and when exams would be near, I would definitely go through these questions and revise my current affairs, revise my static part, and revise my previous year question analysis. So this is what I want from you. Please do note down these questions, or at least take the screenshot of these questions. Now at the end, before we will start discussing, I would like to request you guys, please do subscribe the channel, share it with your friends so that they may also get benefited from this initiative, and also do write in the comments what else should we bring for you. We are here to help you. You know, we try to provide the best information possible to you guys so that it will help you in any way in clearing your exam. Please do write in the comments what else should we bring for you, and also do criticize us where the criticism is due. We are humans, we tend to make mistakes, but we try to avoid the mistakes. But if any there is, please do write in the comments. We will try to correct that. We are here to improve ourselves too, and at the same time, please don't over criticize or use such language which will demotivate us. That would be the kindness from your side. So this is all. Now before now let's start discussing. Let's try to solve the first question here. Here the question says, how many times has India been non-permanent member of the United Nations Security Council? you know as I had always told you, before we solve the questions, we will go through the background why we had brought this question. And by doing this, this video helps you in two ways. First of all, in solving the questions, it acts as a quiz. Second, it acts as a news analysis, because we take questions from the current affairs, and for discussing those questions we need the context of these questions, and for the context we need to discuss the news analysis, what was in the newspaper today. So this video acts as a two-way. It acts as a news analysis as well as quiz analysis. That is why I had named it daily news quiz analysis. So coming back to this question, you will ask me, sir, what is the need of this question, why we are going to discuss this question? Because the answer to this question is in today's newspaper, as it was mentioned in the newspaper that Pakistan, they are going to, Pakistan is all set to take seat of non-permanent member from 2025 to 26. The writer Tirumati, T.S. Tirumati, who wrote this article, who discussed what are the concerns with respect to India, how India can get harmed, how Pakistan can use this platform against India, and how India should deal with this. So this is what the discussion is about. Here about that, in this way we need to know how many times India has been the member of the got this membership, has been the member of the non-permanent member of the United Nations Security Council. UPSC has this habit, they would often ask you such questions. Now coming back to the context of this question, Pakistan is all set to take seat of the non-permanent member from 2025 to 26, and it could create huge complications for India. As we know that Pakistan, they had always tried to target India. They would often blame us for their own mistakes. For example, the rise of terrorism in Jammu and Kashmir and all that stuff, and the terrorism as it is very much state sponsored from their side. And India has always blamed them there, what they are doing in Jammu and Kashmir and other states near the borders. India has always blamed Pakistan, and this and Pakistan has always tried to reverse it on India, so that they would show to the world that they are also on the receiving side. So with respect to this, it is these 2 years, 2025 and 26, are going to play a vital role in it. Before going through further in this topic, we need to know what this United Nations Security Council is. It is a primary organ of United Nations organization. It is most powerful. It has 15 country representation, in which we have P5 countries which are permanent P5 countries which are permanent members of it, which include USA, US, UK, Russia, and France. These are the 5 permanent members of the United Nations Security Council, and with these 5 permanent members, they have also 10 non-permanent members. And from 2025 to 2026 and till 2027, also Pakistan is going to be the non-permanent member for these 2 years. About this, 10 non-permanent members are elected for 2 years. For 2 years they are elected for 2 years tenure. About UNSC, what does it do? It is important organ of the United Nations organization. It is its duty is for maintaining peace and stability in the world. It has the power to impose economic sanctions. It has the power to deal with nuclear non-proliferation and nuclear disarmament. It deals with this United Nations Security Council. It deals with the peaceful negotiations. It mandates to counter terrorism. It has huge scope. It has huge work to do, and so it is the most powerful organ of the United Nations organization. Now coming back to the topic, how India can get how Pakistan's tenure will harm India, because Pakistan can use it, misuse it against India. as Pakistan always misused it. Pakistan will bring the terrorist issue that they have been the victim of terrorism. They will blame the attacks happening in their territory. They would often blame those attacks from the Indian side. They believe that those terrorist attacks which are happening in their side, for especially from the Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan, they blame that they are sponsored by Indian side. So they would try to bring that issue in the United Nations organization, in the United Nations Security Council, and also they would often try to bring the Kashmir issue and Article 370, how there are alleged human rights violations happening in Jammu and Kashmir, how Indian government they changed the status quo there, as they unilaterally withdrew from article, they unilaterally dissolved Article 370 there. And also Pakistan will try to repair the damage with the Afghan Taliban, as Taliban, it has been recognized by only few countries. Now Pakistan being the non-permanent member of the United Nations Security Council, and also we know that from few years their relationship with Taliban has not been that great. Now it is the opportunity for Pakistan to to resolve the issues with Taliban. They will try to they will try to put their case forward in the world, and they will ask for their recognition, which is indirectly going to impact the India. It has never been good with India when Pakistan and Afghanistan or Taliban in Afghanistan had been close together. It has always impacted badly on India. So these are various issues which Pakistan is going to discuss, which will harm India. So with respect to that, as there are 10 members from 10 non-permanent members, in those 10 non-permanent members, Pakistan is not the only country of having this mentality. Also there are four other countries which are the part of which might support Pakistan, because they are the part of the organization in which Pakistan is also part of the organization OIC. Those other four countries are also the part of the OIC, and Pakistan is also the part of OIC. So there are high chances that those countries would support Pakistan there when Pakistan will bring such concerns in front of the United Nations Security Council. And also there are some issues which are very common to India and Pakistan, which India would want Pakistan to work on. For example, UN peacekeeping forces, where India and Pakistan are the highest contributors of the UN peacekeepers. So the issues what they are facing, like how there is lack of control from Indian side and the Pakistani side towards those UN peacekeeping missions, and also how permanent five-member countries are having the superior control over the peacekeeping missions. So India would love if Pakistan would discuss such issues there. So there are various other issues which India should be concerned about, and the author, he wants India to be very well prepared with respect to that, and India should also get ready for the answers which the Pakistan is going to ask there. So this is in nutshell about this question. This is the nutshell context. This is in nutshell the context of the question. Now let's try to solve it and get more idea about it. I think this question will be important for you, because UPSC has asked such questions, how many times this has happened, how many times India has been part of that. So I guess this question is very much important for you, and I hope you will remember it. Here the question says, how many times has India been a non-permanent member of the United Nations Security Council? Is it 5? No. Is it 6? No. Is it 7? No. Is it 8? 100% correct. It is 8. And what was the last time India had been the member, had been the non-permanent member of United Nations Security Council? It is 2021 and 2022. So with this, I hope you had understood the article itself, you had understood the question. Now let's move towards another question and try to solve that. Now moving to the another question, as the question here talks about the urban local bodies in India. Elections in urban local bodies. The question says the body responsible for conducting elections to urban local bodies in India is, before we will solve this question, we will try to understand what is the background of this question, why we had brought this question here. There was an article about the urban local bodies, as they are missing spotlight on urban local government polls. It was the article which talked to various issues with respect to urban local bodies. If we know about the urban local bodies, it was the 74th Constitutional Amendment Act which brought a revolutionary step with respect to this. It gave the constitutional status to urban local bodies, and about urban local bodies, they play a huge role in our day-to-day life. As we know that approximately right now different reports had come up, and approximately right now 40% of the population resides in cities. And for the cities, they are controlled by urban local bodies. And if the elections, the spotlight which the elections should get with respect to the urban local bodies, if they are not getting that spotlight, if the elections are not on the regular, if elections are not happening on the regular basis, then the governance gets impacted. So this is what this article tries to explain here. According to the author here, that even though the 40% of the population resides in the cities, and also it is estimated that by 2050 more than 50% population will be living in cities, and studies had shown it that they would contribute more than 60% to the GDP of the country. But still, all these after seeing the importance of these cities and local of these urbanization, after seeing the importance of the urban population, the most important thing about it, the governance of this urban population is done by urban local bodies. And unfortunately, the elections for these urban local bodies are not taken seriously. Why this discussion has come today? Because recently we had seen that the union cabinet has approved bills on simultaneous polls. And with respect to that simultaneous polls, it is about the elections, simultaneous election in the state legislature, in the parliament elections and the state legislative elections. And in unfortunately, the elections in the urban local bodies and panchayats had been ignored in this context. So as per the High Commission report, which was which was tabled, you know, as per that High Commission report, that these elections should happen simultaneously. Who the As per the High Commission report, that in the simultaneous elections within 100 days, the elections for these elections for the local body should, within 100 days of the elections in the state legislative assemblies and the parliament elections, within 100 days these elections should be held. But this has been ignored by the government. Right now they are ignoring this in the bill which they had approved on the simultaneous elections. There has been no say on the urban local bodies. And what are the reasons for that? Because if they will have to if they will have to include the urban local body elections or the local body elections in the simultaneous elections, then they will have to go through various reforms, various constitutional amendments, in which they will need the help of more than 50% of the states. And that is practically very much difficult right now. That is the main reason they had ignored the part of the urban local bodies or of the elections in the local bodies. But according to author, this step from the government is going to be very much harmful, because it is going to impact the it is definitely the impact of the urban local bodies or the panchayat raj institutions. They are huge on our GDP. They had huge impact on the local population, local working. If it will be ignored whole, if such elections would be ignored, then the local governance will get impacted very badly. Now, I think this is in nutshell enough about the context of this question. Now let's try to solve the question here and get more idea about it. Here the question says, the body responsible for conducting elections to urban local bodies in India is it Election Commission of India? No. Is it district election officer? No. Is it local self government department? No. Then it is definitely State Election Commission. It is responsible for conducting elections to urban local bodies and the panchayati raj institutions. So with this, let's move towards the another question and try to solve. Here the question is about the place of worship Special Provisions Act 1991. We had in recent classes also we had discussed it. But what is the need why we had brought this question again here? Because the involvement of the Supreme Court in recent matters. As we had seen from last few weeks, there had been issues related to different mosques. As this law has been invoked by, as this law, as many trial courts has gone against this law, and they had accepted many complaints regarding the different mosques in our country. And it has created huge you know huge it has created huge fuss in the country. And with respect to this, the Supreme Court has interfered, and the apex court, they had they had stayed for they had further they had freezed, and they had stayed any such cases that no trial court would be allowed after that. The trial courts are not allowed to accept such cases. So what Supreme Court did, they had stayed the acceptance of such cases which are related to the places of worship special provision act 1991. So it makes this place of worship special provision act 1991 important for us. Now let's try to understand what are its key features by this question. Here the question says, consider the following statements about the place of worship special provisions act 1991. First statement, it prohibits the conversion of any place of worship and the alteration of its religious character. As it says, it prohibits the conversion of any place of worship and the alteration of its religious character. 100% correct, nothing wrong with the statement, as it definitely prohibits the conversion of any place of worship and the alteration of its religious character. Second statement, it applies to all places of worship in India, including those existed before 15th August 1947. This statement is totally incorrect because it does not apply to all. Especially, it applies only to those before which existed before 15th August 1947. To those places of worship, to those places only it applies. And also in that there has been the exception of Ram Janam Bhumi, so it does not apply to all. So with respect to this question, the statement is totally incorrect. Now coming back to the third statement, it says it was enacted to maintain the communal harmony and prevent disputes over the religious character of the place of worship. 100% correct. Fourth statement, it excludes the Ram Janam Bhumi from its purview. 100% correct. So with respect to this question, the correct statements are statement 1, statement 2, and Statement 1, Statement 3, and Statement 4, and from the code given below, the correct code would be option C. So this is, I think, by solving this question, you had got the basic idea about the Place of Worship Act 1991. And why we had brought this question, because the Supreme Court, Apex Court has Apex Court freezes suits on claiming over place of worship. This was the article. This is about this article. Now with this, let's move to the another question and try to solve that. If about the place about the suits right now, which are cases with respect to the place of worship, there are 18 suits had been filed over 10 religious places right now which are working. So with respect to that, the Supreme Court had interfered. Now let us move towards another question and try to solve. Here the question is about the consider the following potential advantages of holding simultaneous elections for Lok Sabha and the state legislative assemblies. It talks about the advantages of holding simultaneous elections for Lok Sabha and state legislative assemblies in India. Why we had brought this question? Because the Union Cabinet has approved bills on simultaneous polls, which was that would be tabled in the winter session. It would definitely, it will have two workings. First, it would try to amend the constitution, and second, amend the laws with respect to the tenure of the legislative assemblies. These two things which will be discussed in the winter session. So this is in a nutshell about the context. Now coming to the question, and let's try to solve it. The question says, consider the following potential advantages of holding simultaneous elections. What are the advantages? First statement, reduced election expenditure. It is expected that by holding the simultaneous elections, the expenditure would be reduced. So this is correct. Statement 1 is totally correct. Statement 2, improved governance, less disruption to governance and policy implementation. 100% correct. It is believed that if the majority of the times in our country there are some kind of elections happening, and because of those elections the governance gets highly impacted, because for this year there was parliament elections, and next year there would be election in particular state, then after that elections in other state, so the governance gets disrupted. If we have the simultaneous elections, then it will have less impact on the governance disruption, and it will definitely improve the governance. Third, increase voter turnout. 100% correct. Higher voter participation due to reduced voter fatigue. Voters often get fatigued when usually there are different mentality of the voters. They will prioritize, either some will prioritize the state elections or others will uh, prioritize the parliament elections. But when it is simultaneously conducted, they will definitely vote for the both. So it will definitely increase the voter turnout. Fourth, strengthened democratic process, a more efficient and effective electoral process, 100% correct. Fifth, reduced burden on security forces, a decrease in the deployment of security personnel for various elections, 100% correct. So with respect to this question, all the statements are correct, and the correct option to it is option D, which is all of the above. So these are the advantages associated with conducting simultaneous elections. Which committee has recommended it recently? It is high powered committee under Ramnath Kovind, who was the ex-president of India. It talked about it, but about this committee, high powered committee under Ramnath Kovind, they had also included urban local bodies elections. But when this bill was introduced with respect to the when this bill was introduced with respect to the simultaneous elections, they had excluded the elections in the urban local bodies or panchayati raj institutions. So with this, let's move to the another question and try to understand. Here the question is about the Vaikom Satyagraha, as it is the 100th anniversary to it. So it becomes important for us to understand its role in our freedom struggle or in the Indian society. First, it was a movement against caste-based discrimination, 100% correct. There were Dalits or low-caste people, they were not even allowed to enter the temples, and also they were not even allowed to use the roads which would be adjoining to those temples. So this statement is 100% correct. Second statement, it was a movement against untouchability, 100% correct. It was led by Mahatma Gandhi. There is doubt. He was the member. Mahatma Gandhi supported the movement, but it was primarily led by local leaders like T.K. Madhavana, like leaders like him, that and also E.V. Ramaswamy Pariyar, leaders like E.V. Ramaswamy Pariyar and T.K. Madhavan, this they were the major, they were the majorly they were the leaders of this satyagraha. Fourth, it took place in Kerala, 100% correct. It took place in Kerala. So with respect to this question, the correct statements are statement 1, statement 4, 2 and statement 4, which is option C is the correct option. Here usually there are many criticisms against Mahatma Gandhi with respect to Vaikom Satyagraha, because he agreed that the Dalits won't be allowed to enter into the temples, but they should be at least allowed to use the roads. So because of that agreement, he is highly criticized. So with this, let's move to the last question. Today's discussion from the current affairs. Here, the last question, it talks about the Reporters Without Borders. It is an organization. Why it is a news? Because it has highlighted this organization. It has highlighted how Israel is responsible for killing 18 journalists in Gaza. So about this, such organization has become important for us because UPSC has often asked such questions. So let's try to discuss it. First statement, it is an international non-profit organization, 100% correct. Second, it is headquartered in Paris, France, also correct. Third, it primarily focuses on promoting freedom of the press and defending journalists, 100% correct. Fourth, it publishes an annual report ranking countries based on their press freedom records, 100% correct. So with respect to this question also, all the statements are correct, and from the code given below, the correct code would be option D. So by solving this question, we had completed today's discussions with respect to current affairs, which is the part 1 of our discussion, or set 1 of our discussion. We did it. Now with this, let's move towards the another part of our discussion where we will solve the question from the static part, and which we will try to understand that question, and that question is from the Indian polity from DPSPs. Here in this part, we are going to solve the question on the directive principles, as right now we are discussing it. We had discussed articles related to DPSPs, article 36 we discussed that, we discussed 37, we discussed 38, we discussed 39 and 39A. Now today we have to discuss article 40. So let us discuss it by this question. Consider the following statements about article 40 of the Indian Constitution. It is part of DPSPs. This this Article 40 is definitely part of the DPSPs. It is part. It belongs to the Part 4 of the Indian Constitution. And let's move. Let's see what does the statement say. It is a directive principle of state policy. 100% correct. It mandates the state to organize village panchayats. 100% correct. This is what this article actually says. It provides for the establishment of Panchayati Raj institutions. 100% correct. Fourth, it ensures the financial autonomy of the panchayats. Totally incorrect. So with respect to this question, the correct statements are statement 1, statement 2 and statement 3. And from the code given below, it is option C. And this is part of the Gandhian principle. So with this, let's move to the last part of our discussion where we will solve the previous year question. Here the question is about the diarchy. It says in the context of Indian history, the principle of diarchy refers to. So what does the principle of diarchy refer to? First, division of central legislation into two houses. No, this is not what it refers. Second, introduction of double government, that is central and state. Totally incorrect. Third, having two sets of rulers, one in London and another in Delhi. Totally incorrect. Fourth, division of subjects delegated to the provinces into two categories. 100% correct. That is transferred subjects and reserved. It was brought in the Government of India Act 1919, which brought the diarchy first time. It gave the subjects given to the provinces were divided into two categories. One were transferred and other was reserved. We had done the discussion over that in our previous classes in detail. So with this, we complete today's discussion. I hope you would like the video. I definitely hope you would share it with your friends. And I definitely hope you would subscribe the channel. Thank you for staying with me. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.